At 5:15 p.m. on August 21st, 2025, a woman in Newport Richey, Florida, called 911 and calmly told dispatchers that she had poured sulfuric acid on her husband. The caller was 50-year-old Chuanying He. When officers arrived at the home on Slippery Rock Drive in the Briar Patch community, they immediately heard screaming coming from a bedroom.
Welcome to Love and Murder. Heartbreak to homicide. We are Kai's AI co-hosts, Jensen, Jessica, and Jane. It's Friday, which means it's time for another wild, unbelievable, or downright tragic story that proves real life can be stranger than fiction. Before we get started, a quick reminder that Love and Murder is completely listener-funded, meaning it exists because of you. If you'd like to help keep these stories coming and get access to exclusive bonus episodes, ad-free listening, and behind-the-scenes extras, you can join the Lamb Fam at patreon.com/loveandmurder. All right, let's get into today's Florida Man Friday episode.
Side note, this case is still ongoing, so, as usual, everything said here is alleged.
The bedroom had been barricaded from the outside with a wooden bar and attached wire to the doorknob so he couldn't escape. Police broke inside and found 65-year-old Robert Heyden with severe chemical burns covering much of his body. Robert was conscious but in unbearable pain. The liquid found on the bed and floor tested positive for sulfuric acid. Paramedics worked to rinse the burns and stabilize him before airlifting him to Tampa General Hospital's burn unit. Despite his agony, Robert managed to tell officers that his wife had tried to kill him, not once but multiple times. Chuanying and Robert's marriage was short and chaotic from the start. They'd only been married since August 2024, but by March 2025, Robert had already filed for divorce. Things had gotten so bad that he was asking the court for exclusive possession of the house, basically, to have Chuanying removed. And the timing makes everything worse. Their next court hearing for the divorce was scheduled for the very next day after the attack. Police were no strangers to that address. Detective David Crowell from the Newport Richey Police Department said officers had been called there numerous times for verbal domestics, but there were never any arrests. Investigators saw that the setup showed planning, not impulse, and even more disturbing was that Chuanying stayed at the scene the entire time. When officers questioned her, she admitted she had poured the acid on her husband while he was asleep. Investigators concluded that the divorce proceedings served as a clear motive for the crime. She was arrested that same day and initially charged with attempted first-degree murder and aggravated battery. Robert suffered chemical burns over roughly 35% of his body. Doctors did everything they could, but the injuries were too severe. After 3 days in critical condition, he died on Sunday morning, August 24th. His death turned what was already a horrific case of domestic violence into a first-degree murder investigation. When Robert died, prosecutors upgraded the charges to first-degree murder and aggravated battery causing serious bodily injury. Neighbors told police that officers had been called to the couple's address multiple times before for verbal disputes, but no arrests were ever made. This time, the situation had escalated beyond anything anyone could have imagined. Detectives determined that the attack was premeditated. According to the affidavit, Chuanying got the sulfuric acid, waited until Robert was asleep, poured it over him, and then barricaded the door to keep him from escaping. Investigators said this sequence of actions proved she planned the murder. Police confirmed the attack was isolated and that there was no ongoing threat to the public. Chuanying remains in the Pasco County Jail without bond. The investigation continues, but authorities say the evidence, her own 911 call, her confession, and Robert's dying words, leaves little question about what happened that day. And that is the case of a crazy woman who decided acid was the way to go instead of letting her man go. Just because she couldn't face rejection, she made sure the phrase, "If I can't have you, no one will," was actually implemented. People need to learn how to deal with hardship. Life was never promised to be easy. You're going to have good times and bad times. When the bad times fall, you need to learn to deal with it. One of the first steps is to have patience. Now, I'm not saying this is easy, but what worthwhile thing is? The man didn't want to be with you. Deal with it. If you'd just dealt with it, you would have gotten over the heartbreak and probably found someone else who wanted you. Now you gotta make sure that next person isn't Big Bertha. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below or in the Patreon.
Now, since today's case was so short and Kai hasn't been diligent in reading your comments, we're going to read and answer some of your comments ourselves. The first comment comes from the episode titled, Jealous Father Murders Rising Tennis Coach Daughter, Deepak Yadav. This was a crazy case based of jealousy you'd never even think of. If you missed this case or forgot it, the link to this episode and all the episodes we will be mentioning is in the show notes below. So the TLDR of this case is a 25-year-old tennis player and coach, Radhika Yadav, was shot dead in her family's home. Police say her father, Deepak Yadav, killed her after repeated fights over her independence and her tennis academy. He confessed, claiming he felt humiliated by villagers' taunts about living off his daughter's earnings. Listen to the full case to get all of the details. Now, a lamb with the username Midwest_music1974 said, How much of a loser do you have to be jealous of your 13-year-old daughter? How pathetic.
I agree. Very pathetic. The next comment comes from an episode titled, Inmate Pulls 3 Syringes Out of His Rectum, Claims It's Not His. I don't think I need a TLDR for this case. The title says it all. The comment from Lamb Donnie reads, What the bleep? Why? Donnie, this is why Kai had to do this episode. She said the same thing when she'd seen the headlines. Why?
Okay, the last comment I'm going to read comes from Christina Bobo and is from the episode titled Florida Man Hides Woman's Body in Trash Can for Weeks, the case of Nathaniel Slade. The TLDR for this case says, in 2022, 41-year-old LaDonna Williams was brutally murdered by Nathaniel Slade after she tried to help someone. Her body was found decomposing in a trash can outside of his Jacksonville home. Listen to the full case for more shocking details. Christina Bobo says, What a tragedy. Trying to help someone caused her very own life. When I was a teen, my friend called me to come get her because her boyfriend beat her up. And when I got there, they were fighting. He had a heavy sock full of quarters and was just swinging and hitting her. He didn't want her to leave, but he kept saying she couldn't stay. It was so crazy. Literally had to drag her out of the house. And I got punched on too, inadvertently. His mom was there the whole day and never stopped him from beating her or even called the cops. Anyway, after that, I vowed to never get in the middle of other people's situations because I was scared for my life. I was expecting to pick her up, not get involved in a fight. Then I found out that he ended up going to jail, unrelated, and when he got out, they had a whole baby together.
I don't even know what to say to that. I can't believe the woman stayed and even had a baby with him. I guess all I could say is that I hope they fix themselves and don't have that craziness around the child. However, this is love and murder, and I'm more apt to think that nothing changed, and they probably had even more kids.
I hope not, but it's more than likely what happened.
And that wraps up this week's Florida Man Friday. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comments or over on Patreon. I always love hearing what you think. If you want to support the show and help us keep telling these stories, join us on patreon.com/loveandmurder. You'll get ad-free episodes, bonus content, behind-the-scenes extras, and help us keep being a voice for the victims. Every subscription, even the $3 tier, makes a difference. Thanks for listening, thanks for supporting the show, and I'll see you in the next episode.